If you run a business, however big or small, and sometimes wonder whether you're doing things the hard way or the right way, then you're in the right place. We're two business owners who choose to sit around the same table, share mistakes, challenge each other, and keep learning. We're two ordinary blokes in business, and this is our journey to a million. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Martin. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. You're slightly quieter than normal because you're on tour.
I'm on call, and as we know, we do this very early in the morning, and Martin's got me up. He's made me move rooms,
We've got no
and,
interactive board behind us.
and no interactive board. We've just got the window and the seagulls. So, yes, I'm being a bit quiet because the teenagers upstairs. Don't want to disturb the teenagers. You know how they like their sleep.
Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid.
Uh,
So I wasn't going to start with a not a curveball, John, but we're pretty self-deprecating on this show, aren't we? Well, I am, and you're singing the joys. But I thought I'd join you this week and say, I'm really pleased with the progress of the podcast. People are subscribing, people are liking, people are sending questions, and we're getting a listenership. How about that?
well, that's fantastic. I did suggest the case on the way down that we could listen to all the podcasts on the way down, as she hasn't listened to any of them. And it received a polite, well, let's have a think. Let's ask the listeners if they could suggest the answers that Kate gave, shall we? That'll be some fun, won't it? Anyway,
Yeah.
I can confirm that we didn't listen to them.
I can imagine how that went down. Moving swiftly on. Okay, so I think this week we touched last week on right at the very end of the podcast about mentorship, and I suppose coaching and mentors, consultants. That's all that kind of area. Do you have a mentor, John? Do you have a experience of this in business?
I have an experience of it, and that's an interesting one, actually, Martin, because I know you and I know other people who I've watched their business grow, have enjoyed the benefit of a mentor. We worked with them, but I've done two lots of work. One was through the council or the government help to grow scheme. We had a gentleman a couple of years ago that he was really good, actually. He was really nice, but that was all part of that team. Last year in our journey through, getting to the million, we decided that, maybe we could look at that to support me, but also to help support and guide our leadership team. So we did a sort of tester session or sessions. We did it over 3 months, and we had a bit of a project brief, and it worked really, really well. So the answer to the question, I suppose, is yes and yes. We have, but not as much as other people have. Have we enjoyed the benefits of it? Yes. Would I recommend it? Yes. But I think you need to make sure what you want to get out of it as well. So before heading off on our holidays, because this is about releasing time for me, and that's what is my success criteria out of being freed up from the business. That's one of those criteria. Is we actually sat down with a potential mentor, or I did, and we actually had a really good positive chat. And there's a proposal come through which looks really interesting. So, does that help answer the listener's question?
Yeah, it's prompted me to think about how we first started, and I think it was very much the same way. I think a lot of local government, lot of local councils actually do provide either free or cut price mentoring through chambers of commerce and that sort of thing, because what they want to do is attract business to their area, to obviously improve their own local economies. And so they provide this service, and that was probably my first introduction to a mentor, and I guess that was was a guy called Ian Hemington, which was it's got to be 10, 15 years ago that we first was introduced to him. And I think it's a really, I suppose we should talk about like why you have a mentor, and then what they can do for you. So why? Because I was going to go on to say that you know the journey that you have in business, and I've talked about this before about the person you become. You when you're first introduced to a mentor, you will be at a certain stage of your journey. They have to work out what that stage is and push you to the next stage. And you could be completely green, really naive, or you could have a modicum of knowledge, or you could be very well versed. And your decision of which mentor you have will be dictated by which stage you're at. Does that ring true for you, John?
It does. And I think it's a good point. And whilst you were chatting, I didn't want to interrupt, but I was thinking that actually, for me, reflecting back, or what got me doing it is confidence, and it seems a lot of money.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. I
it
mean, I remember paying £400 for a half a day.
yeah, it seems a lot of money. It's a bit more than that now, Martin, and it's not for half a day. But actually, I think what you then get out of it is the knowledge and the from those meetings you get confidence, and actually from that confidence you get sales, and that's how you start to grow your business. And this is what our podcast is about. It's about the scaling of the business. So I think at some point you do have to bite the bullet and actually do it. And I think you were saying a long time ago that, you know, it was a lot of money, and it certainly is a lot of money. And actually it was interesting that the guy who we've been talking to, you know, one of the processes that he was talking about in terms of a first stage of us working together is going to be a 4-week sort of plan, or a 4-meeting plan, where we're going to look at visions and values. And, you know, there's the visions and values again that we were talking about in the podcast. You know, what we're looking at, what our 3-year plan is, all the stuff that's probably consistent throughout the sort of the mentoring world. But it was done in a way that you think, oh yeah, I could work with this guy. So I think doing that sort of, you know, have a look around and see what's available. But for if cash is tight, it does seem a lot of money. But I think actually what it also gives you is that confidence. And I've always known from my days in retail that, you know, knowledge is confidence and confidence is sales. And you look at where you've gone with your business compared to me with mine, and the difference could be, you know, your good luck, but actually your mentor that empowered you to have the confidence to grow.
Well, I think there's a couple of things there. One is cost value investment. So yes, it's a high cost, and when you look at say £400 for a couple of hours work, say, that you might not be able to afford that, or you might be pushed to afford 1 or 2 sessions. But I would definitely encourage you to do it. The value you get from it is opening your eyes and starting that journey. Once again, seeing what's possible, breaking it down, having someone to test you and challenge you and push you to be able to achieve stuff. And they also will have experience on, presumably on how businesses have grown in the past. And then it's the investment in yourself. So I'm a massive advocate. Like I say, I was introduced many, many years ago, and then we didn't do anything for a while. And then when we started to have a bit more cash in the business, we went straight back to it. And I think Jim Gorey is our mentor now. Big shout out to Jim, because he's been phenomenal, and is also another part of the reason why we've grown in the last 3 to 4 years. Again, we met him through a Chamber of Commerce deal that was on. He almost interviewed us to say, were we the type of business he wanted to work with? Because he's big on people skills, as amongst others, and he's been of real value to our business, and I think the things that mentors do. So you can expect to be held to account when you're running a business. You're pretty much flying on your own. You're flying solo, aren't you? You're making all your own decisions, and who's to challenge you on those? Who opens your eyes to other opportunities? Who points out the obvious that you cannot see because you're so engrossed in what you're doing, what you've always done? That's what a mentor does, and that's where their value lies, in coaching you and giving you a different view.
I agree. And I think what I'd also add to that is you've raised some interesting points there about how your gym interviewed you, which is very similar to what this guy John, how he interviewed and what we talked about with us. And I think it was really, really interesting. And I think also that you need to do that due diligence with them, because if you don't, you could end up spending a lot of money and actually not getting the results that you want. You'll still get results, but you may not maximize the results you can get by not understanding how that relationship is going to work. So for us, I'm really pleased that actually I did my first block of investment, which was between December and February of this year. I'm really, really pleased we did that, because it's given me so much knowledge. It's actually helped me seek some clarity in terms of what my team is, and we're changing the shape of the team. And even one of the team members said, Dave, as an example, well, it is the example, Dave will be great in that role. If that's where you're looking at going, Dave's going to be great in that role, which was excellent. And I think it does give you that clarity. Those bits that you don't see when you're in it every day, you don't see what's happening on the outside or further afield. You do need to stand back, and that's probably a trait of a leader, isn't it? To actually stand back and look. So,
It's your favourite word, John. Reflection.
Well, it is, and I.
Second favourite word. Sorry, brilliance first, isn't it?
Brilliant. Yeah, I've not used that word yet. You've made me do it, but you've made me do it in the wrong way there. So that's unfair, Martin.
Sorry.
You should apologise profusely for that. Is that your camper van mug, Martin?
It is my camper van mug, yes. My favourite mug. For the listener, John.
For the listener. But for me, I have two people now that I'm talking to. One is another guy called John, who's the guy that I'm referring to, and I'm also talking to Phineas, who helped us through the Help to Grow scheme. I'm really pleased that we sat there and we had a good chat and an understanding about how he works and how he wants to work and the type of people that he works with. Because I was also approached a few years ago by a franchise sort of consultancy type sort of business. And I met up with them, and it was all pull this lever, push that lever, do this, do that. And it didn't feel comfortable. I'm not saying we wouldn't get the right result, but it didn't seem comfortable. It didn't seem a nice thing. And I didn't want to commit the money to that. I want to commit the money to something that's going to help me. And I want this guy to understand that, a big part of the project is supporting the team that's going to help me grow the business while I'm on my holiday or while I'm thinking strategically, and actually support them. I mean, this week has been great. We've been away. The team are back in Nottingham looking after everything. There's no issues going on. I log on of an evening. Naturally, even when I've done some work, I've actually done strategic thinking on and the business, which is brilliant, because that's exactly what this mentor's telling me, that that I've learned out of, sorry, the mentorship I'm without a mentor, but that's what I've learned out of this, is that I'm going to grow the business by working on the business, not in the, can you speak to Mrs. Smith about this problem? There's other people that can do that. And actually what I've been working on is my accountability and single points of failure sort of form, which is, I was going to say excellent, but I've used that word.
Yeah, well, I mean that goes back to the thing we've talked about before about the first 500,000 is your ability to run the trade or business that you're doing, whether it's a corner shop or a carpentry business or a, I don't know, window cleaning business. It's your ability to make the sales and get to that level of turnover, and then I guess from 500,000 to a million is your ability to then switch and be able to manage people and be more strategic thinking. Yeah, I think there's a I've lost my train of thought. You know why? Because
Well, I'll help you.
someone's just let the dog into my office, which
Have
is
you?
this is very unusual. This doesn't happen. This is a you
That's
problem, John, not a me
terrible. That's
problem.
just terrible. That's just terrible podcasting, Martin. To let your dog walk in the office mid podcast, it's
It's
awful.
And now I'm being texted. Are you filming? Oh dear me. It's a good job. This is no holds barred, isn't it?
It's a job.
Oh
You've only got two.
dear.
Only got two listeners now, Martin. That's amazing, isn't it?
I wouldn't go as far as to call them listeners. So yes, mentorship.
Well,
That's what we were talking about.
Don't forget, Martin, because we haven't done it for a while. But on holiday, what do you do on holiday? You bring your laptop, you do some work, and you read your book. So there's my book of the week. So far,
Right.
it's
Thanks for letting me know you were going to do that, because now I've got nothing to come back with.
Well, no, but actually, that I'm going to go back to that, because I bought that book on the recommendation of my mentor, who was telling me the what's the word, the succession or the next sort of book, part of the series of Traction, which I found for me helped a big change in my business. So that cost me £10 or something from Amazon, but actually just reading that has helped me put into place some of the things I want to do in terms of my business. That clicked. It clicked in my mind that I can do it, and it becomes achievable. And actually, if the mentor can support that, and all the stuff they're talking about in books like that are also brilliant. So, having finished that book, Martin, I went on to another recommendation that was made by a colleague, and it's called Eat That Frog. Because Hazel had to come down in a separate car for my library of books that I've brought with me. And what I love about this book is that
it's blank.
The back.
There's nothing in it.
There's absolutely nothing in it at the back, but at the front, it's really interesting. And
it's got words.
They're all words, but actually they're words, and they're words that hit home to different people. Like I was reading page 1 of chapter 1. And I said to Hazel and Elijah, so Elijah's Hazel's boyfriend, and he's on holiday with us, and he's a lovely lad. And we were sat there, and I read out these words, and Hazel goes, that's me, and that's just described you, Elijah. So books become emotional to people, and actually I don't have time to read them normally at home, but on holiday I do try and make the time, and it. Sorry, Martin. Reflection will be the word. Reflection will be the word of the day. I think it helps, because being in business is tough, and being a small business and you're juggling all your resources is even harder. And actually, just to find something like that pieces it into place, and actually great things can happen. But what we've also learned is that you have to do something. There's no point going to a networking meeting. There's no point going to a conference if you then go home and do nothing.
Oh, that's another podcast, taking action. Right. So
Have you made a note of that then, Martin? Make a note of that. Just,
make
yeah, good lad.
taking action. Right. Okay. So, but you're right. Reading the book Mentors, it's almost like full circle. We originally spoke about networking and how useful that is, but all these things, podcasts, books, mentoring, networking, they're all exposing yourself to new things, new ideas, new people, new ways of thinking, new systems, and you're gaining that knowledge all the time as long as you're exposing yourself to those things. If you just keep doing the same, what's that saying about if you keep the inputs the same but expect a different output, that's the definition of madness. So
Mm.
you have to change things up. You have to, if you want a different output, you've got to change the inputs.
Yeah.
And by changing the inputs, you've got to learn, invest in yourself,
And
mentorship.
interesting. Let's go back one. So for me, excuse me, for me in my world, um, if you can look at your local chamber of commerce or help to grow uh, projects and stuff like that, have a go at them, sign up and do them. They're normally free, which is great. They're normally free, and they're great reminders for all the stuff you've probably heard about. You may have done some of it before, but it just brings out that reflection is the word of the day, isn't it, Martin? We'll have that
For you, John.
from me, yeah. But very, very interestingly, I've actually now progressed to the point that actually paying for a mentor, I'm going to get much more value out of paying for somebody to help me. And I don't know whether that makes a step change in your mind that actually you're now the client and they're they're the provider, and you've paid for it, so you want to get the best value out of it. You've paid for it, so you want to make sure that your staff are enjoying it.
Hmm.
But I feel a lot more confident stepping forward into our next stage of mentorship, um, being a paid for service rather than looking at a free service. And go
Sorry,
on.
John. I was just going to say that I was listening to. I hate to do this because this is big competition for us. Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a
No,
CIO.
I don't think he is,
While
Martin.
he was, yeah, we've surpassed his levels. And he was interviewing Tony Robbins, who I've followed for a while now. And he was saying that how he started his journey, and he had a mentor. I'm not sure that the mentor was actually John Rohn, but it was he had someone that had introduced him, and they said that they were going to have this seminar, and he was a kid, 2021, and this seminar was going to cost hundreds of pounds. So you think back then that's like thousands of pounds he didn't have. And his mentor was saying, look, if you don't think it's worth it and you haven't got the money, don't do it. But if you want to get on and you want to try it, then do it. And I think that the kind of reading between the lines and the story there is, A, how much do you want it? B, the value you're going to get from it is incredible. So, you can miss out if you want, but you're not going to have that learning. You can spend the next couple of decades trying to work it out yourself, or you can just listen to someone who's already got it. And why would someone impart 2 decades of knowledge for free? Apart from us silly wallies, on podcasts, but that's what it is, right? So
Well, it is, Martin.
and I was thinking about that quite a lot, and that has to use the title of your book skyrocketed him, because he's got that learning and that understanding, and he's paid for it, so there's value in it. He's seen that, and he's moved onwards from that, and that's almost ignited his career from a very early age, and I think that's
Yeah.
a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back to your book, Eat That Frog, actually, because Martin, we started talking about mentoring. So we started talking about mentorship through self-learning, through books, mentorship through help to grow sort of schemes that may be available from the government. We've talked about mentors that we pay for. We're going to talk about mentors that we network with. But actually, in your book here, Eat the Frog, it actually sort of talked about you learn from successful people, and that's what the author of this book is about. It's about all the successful people he's learned from, and went and asked them, "Well, how did you do that? Why have you done that?" Which is exactly
Mm,
back to where you and I have been very, very lucky, because we'll mention lawn care world, which is what we operate in. I'm sure there's
mm,
one for plumbers and stuff like that, where you do an apprenticeship and you serve time with people that make a big impact. I know locally around me, where I live, um, I, I, I know this guy, I've known he's passed away now, but his name was Cedric Martin. Look, he trained up so many apprentices apprentices into landscape gardening. But actually, as we go around those gardens in Nottingham, we can see the ones where he has influenced the guys that have done those jobs, because the quality is fantastic, the choice of plants is brilliant and different.
mm,
The workmanship still looks the same in 5, 10 years' time, but it's just being fresh and done. And that comes from people learning from people. And I think you and I, we were one of the early adopters of the Lawn Care Association. I think in those times we always joke about we didn't have any money. The association didn't have any money, so we'd go and meet at a at somebody's yard. And
mm.
actually, out of that, we've met people through networking, through asking the successful people, um, you know, how you doing it? What have you done? What are your ambitions? Which is, and I think two of those people that I would shout out for, and I think you would do the same. One is Tom Arnold from Topcraft, and the other one is Jim Hewlett from Lawn Care. And I think I mentioned as to why being the committee, we actually got exposed to those people. I was very humbled to be invited onto that sort of committee,
Mm.
because why would people like Topcraft and Lawn Tech want to actually be excited by John from Greener Gardens, the bloke that doesn't go out the borough in Nottingham? But actually, when you get talking to those people, they're equally excited and intrigued about our learnings, that we made a policy not to travel too far, and they love the density that we have. And I think the more you can get involved with people, whether it be from your industry or not, actually exposes you to an awful lot of things that encourages thought and growth.
Yeah, and I think you're right, but you mentioned Tom and Jim there, and I think they were probably at or around our kind of stage of business back then, and so they were just imparting what they'd learned, and they were very um, kind and helpful and generous with their time and their knowledge. Um, which has enabled us to grow, and it's kind of like paying it forward, isn't it? It's like, now we want to help people,
Mm,
even while we're still learning.
yeah, yeah, and I think both of those guys have had a positive impact in what we do in Greener Gardens world. And I know for you they have, and I know I know they've um, hosted other lawn care companies who are really sort of going great guns as a result of those sort of meetings. It's that inspiration. It it all helps, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
massively. S-
and
So,
actually, a visit there to go and see another lawn care company or another business that does a similar sort of thing to you. We're lucky, I think, because there's a lot of information that is shared, and there's a lot of enthusiasm that is shared in a competing market. But we're probably not competing with our neighbours next door. So I think that really helps.
yeah.
I mean,
So this leads us on to a question. Sorry to interrupt, John, but this leads us on to a question that we've had from Will Dunga, about what's the one piece of information or learning that you've had from Jim or Tom.
for me,
Yeah.
question for me, Martin. That's a nice
Yeah,
one.
well, it's for
Thank you,
I
Will.
guess
How-
it's for both of us. We've had a question, John. Just answer the thing.
Right. Well, the two stand out for me. I'll do in no particular order. But we went to Salisbury. We went to Jim's yard. I know it's changed a lot now, and it's got even better because of the pictures he's shown us. But I was blown away by how he spec out his fans, his unit, the equipment, standardised it all,
Does like his
everything.
toys, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that made a big impression. And I was thinking, blimey, how do I do this in Nottingham in a steel container? But actually, you can do that in a steel container, not to the same sort of level, but you can embrace those principles. And actually, those principles become standard, and your staff can live with those. I think Tom, for me, was a visionary in terms of how he was going to run his operation that covers quite a broad area, but from a central location rather than from individual sort of units, and that visionary into sort of what word getting the benefits of scale by all being in one place rather than 3 or 4 and 5 different sorts of depots. So it was almost bringing in the American sort of probably the best of the American sort of world into the UK. And I think that's been that again is what I would say I take from Tom's visit is and the learning there is how to do that. So well done to Jim and Tom. Certainly
Yeah.
made a big impression on me, and I've enjoyed your friendships, and those things still happen. You get opportunities to talk to these people. For example, last September, I think it was, we met up as part of the committee for a bit of a strategy day. But the night before, we stayed the night, and you end up talking about robotic mowers and stuff like that. But stuff you just wouldn't get exposed to, and different people's knowledge and understanding of what they're looking at. It was also about wetting agents, which are even more exciting than robotic mowers, aren't they? We go on to talk about some great stuff.
Kate missed out there.
Don't you missed out, Martin? You really did.
Well, so I think if I was going to ask myself the same question, because as usual, you're not turning it back on me,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah,
I
sorry,
would.
No, sorry.
I would say that actually the generosity of time and just hosting Heather and myself and James on occasions at both businesses have been enormously helpful, humbling, aspirational. But what they have done is shown me what can be done, and that has given me a sense of belief, which has shown me what I can do. And I like them, I would imagine, now think beyond that. So, but if you pushed me on one thing that really sticks in my mind, Jim was very kind enough in 2019 to share his revenue, gross and net profits for the previous 5 years. And what that did was make me see that we weren't a long way off that. And it also set a standard for me, a target. And from that, I went on, and in some years, I've been able to beat his jump, as it were, if I was following. So that's good in one way, because it's been, like I say, very aspirational. But in another way, I have maybe looked at that and said, right, that's the way you do it. And I haven't opened my mind to any other ways or opportunities of doing things. And because we get stuck in these industry norms, and actually what we need disruption, we need bigger thinking, we need left field thinking, we need things to throw a bomb in and let it blow up, and try and find those little nuggets that are going to help us do something different and better.
Yeah, and I would try and expand on that again by reinforcing it to the listeners to actually say that knowledge is confidence. You've gained that knowledge, you've gained that confidence, you're now building on that confidence, and all that is developing into sales. And your bang of being exposed to something different, I suppose, is I'll give him a shout out, Jack Chapman, because I think he's the next sort of stage of lawn care companies coming sort of through, but business people coming through. He's not, the lawn care is the game. That's the product that he's in, but actually his thought process could be applied to probably most businesses. But he has also gone and networked with the disruptors that have actually disrupted his thinking, disrupted his lawn care mind, disrupted his aspiration sort of comfort zone, and pushed him somewhere where he probably never thought he needed to go. But he's done that, and he's doing some such great things by exposing himself to those new thought processes, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll let you into a wee secret, John.
So can just tell the listeners not to listen, because this is between you and I, isn't it, Martin?
So next week, we're on our journey to 1 million, right? Next week, I'm having a meeting about how we get to 3 million. It's like, you don't stop. You set your targets. Where are you going? What are you doing? How are you going to, that's the place you want to be at. That's the place you want to be at, where you're always growing. You're always, and like I said in previous podcasts, sometimes you can question yourself and say, why? What's the reasoning behind that? But I think it's how we evolved. I think it's, we want to be. Oh dear. Oh, what's going on, John? Ad break.
Clint.
Oh no, we're back.
It's back to the pet.
Back in the room.
Back in the room.
If I'm boring, sorry, John, just let me know.
I just thought great treat then. Sorry, Martin. Can you say that again? Start again from the listener, because I was naughty there.
No, not. But that's fine. It just shows how professional we are, John. I can't even remember what I said now. I was too busy worrying about your blinking dogs.
You were talking about you were talking about getting to the 3 million, which
it's just expand. Oh, that was it. Just expanding your thinking and your goals and your just one of the guys I cycle with. When I said to him about we'd hit our 500,000, and I said, I reckon we can get to the 1 million in a couple of years. He said, I think the question is, how do you get to 1 million in a year?
Yeah.
And that made me think, and it's just, you need people like that. Thank you, Wes. You need people like that.
Well, that was your BHAG, wasn't it? Bringing it back. That was your BHAG. That was your big, hairy arse goal, wasn't it?
Or audacious.
Or audacious.
Big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Martin.
Or ask, whichever you like.
And mine was seagulls, which you can probably hear in the background. But interestingly, I finished off my rocket fuel book, and it was saying, what's the 12-month plan? Well, I know what that is, because I'd done that over the last sort of three months, and after that was what's your 3-year plan, and I've engineered it back from there. And then the book was saying, what's the 10-year plan? And I thought, well, when I was reading the book, I thought, I've done all those things, but I'll not just think about 10-year plans just yet. But then last night, I just sat there and I thought, I should really do credit to myself and just write them down. But it actually just said, write them down.
Bit of self-reflection, John?
Bit of self-reflection, yeah. So I wrote them down on my spreadsheet, as I normally do, and then I put my 10-year plan. And you know what? For the bloke who 6, 12 months ago, well, no, longer than that, the sort of the stories, we're on a journey to sort of get into that sort of 500,000 to the million. You know, I was the guy that was happy just to have a local business. But yeah, actually, the 10-year plan isn't that difficult to do when you start thinking as a visionary what your opportunities are and what you can be doing. And I've got loads of ideas on how we can grow our business locally. And interestingly, it does come down to we do a lot of hard surface work. But actually, it comes down to not particularly focusing on that. Just focusing on what our core strengths are and actually how we can put back into the local community.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about those sort of timescales. I think we underestimate or we overestimate what we can achieve in a day, but we underestimate what we can achieve in a year. And I think that, you know, setting those goals, working through them, getting them nailed, and that's the next podcast, right? Taking action, John.
Well, it is, and if the listener wants an update, we've hit our number that we were looking for. We've slowed down a bit. I think we took the foot off the gas because of sort of staff issues and coping with past year gains. But actually, we've gained a lot of confidence. That's my one for today, isn't it? Confidence. What do you think?
What a great place to finish off, John.
Confidence.
Yes. Do you want to take us out?
Well, I can do. I'm as you can see, I haven't got my interactive wall. I've got the seagulls. I've really enjoyed talking to Martin on my few days away. As you know, we're not experts. We're just people that enjoy having a good chat. Me, obviously, not asking Martin enough questions. I think it's reminded me we're not experts in what we're doing. We're not experts at podcasters, but people are enjoying
That's
it.
clear.
Which is, people are enjoying it, which is good news. So if you have enjoyed what we're talking about, please share it with a friend. If you've got any questions, please question us at questions@twoblokes.co.uk. And from John and Martin, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.